Hi, everybody. So coming in to this next week, I wanted to review the final paper rubric with all of you to make sure that everybody is aware of how the different components of your paper are going to be weighted and graded. So if we go into the assignment page in Canvas where it says final paper, turn in for grading, then down at the bottom, we have the rubric. So I'm going to click on preview rubric here. And so the first section is thesis statement and organization. So this means, and there are 3 sections here. Each one is worth a third of the final paper. So for the thesis, that means that you have to have a thesis. Generally, your thesis for a paper this length, you're going to have an introductory paragraph where you start generally introducing your topic. Your introductory paragraph will be about 5 to 7 sentences long. And then your final sentence will be the thesis, in which you introduce your perspective or the main point that you're going to make, and then 3 supporting topics that you're going to be developing in the body of your paper to support your main point. So those 3 points are going to be, like I said, developed in the body of your paper sequentially. So you're going to address each of those in the same order that they appear in the thesis. So now notice if you go here, say to mid to low level marks, thesis lacks precision, paper lacks cohesion. That means that if you don't have a clearly designed thesis at the beginning, almost certainly your paper will lack cohesion. So you have to have a clear thesis guiding you as you write, and then directing your reader through your paper so that your organization is clear and that how you develop your ideas makes sense to the reader. Notice for low level marks, you don't have a thesis. And if that is the case, then again, by definition, your paper will lack cohesion. It will be hard to identify what the structure is and why things are put where they are, how they're related to each other, and that kind of thing. Notice that the highest points that you can get here is 15. So that's less than half. If you don't have a thesis, you can only score 15 out of 33 points for this section. So be really careful. And again, that's why I recommend that you send me your draft in advance and that we meet to discuss any of these elements and anything that I see or any questions that you may have. The next section is your research. So making sure that all 4 of your sources are scholarly and that you incorporate them smoothly and that you cite them correctly, both within the paper and within the resources at the end. I will assume that you're using APA format unless you tell me otherwise. If this is something that you're not comfortable with, or that you're unsure, if you haven't done a lot or you're unsure of how it works, this is again a really good idea to send me your draft in advance and for us to review it so that you can, if there are things that need to be corrected, if there are questions that you have in terms of how do you do this, that we can go over it. Notice that here you've got, for mid to low level marks, fewer than 4 sources, there are 8 errors in your APA, or there are issues with how you incorporated the sources into your paper. So again, if you're having a lot of APA issues and or you're missing sources, it affects the grade on this component of your paper pretty quickly. Your final element is your argument and critical thinking. So your topic is complex for high marks. Your argument is strongly supported by logical points. And how do we know that we have logical points? Generally, that's because you have a thesis and you have those logical points clearly identified in the thesis, and then you have those organized in order throughout the body of your paper. Also, one thing that I neglected to mention in terms of your organization is that you should have a conclusion at the end as well. You need to have a concluding paragraph that restates your key ideas. So your introductory paragraph, you're going general to specific down to your thesis, you give the body of your paper, and then for your concluding paragraph, you restate your thesis. Don't copy and paste it, please. Don't do that. Restate it. And then, so you're restating it and then going back out generally to tell us why this topic is important and make some kind of concluding statements. Again, this should be five sentences minimum for your concluding paragraph. So going back to argument and critical thinking, you need to, again, be sure that if there are opposing points of view, make sure that you're addressing those. And going back to you making your logical points, this section is really how everything is coming together. So your logical points are being organized by your thesis, but then they're being supported by your sources that you use. And so then this section is how is all of that coming together as you develop the main ideas of your paper. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. If you would like to send me your paper in advance for feedback, please do, but you have to do it within a week before it's due. I can't do that at the very end. Just like you, we gotta have ourselves planned out and organized a little bit more than that. And then in all likelihood, that will mean that we should also have a 10 to 15 minute writing conference, which I'm happy to schedule. You need to reach out to me if you would like to do that. And again, be sure that we are done with this within a week of the due date, keeping in mind that you may have colleagues as well who are reaching out to do that. So the sooner you reach out to get that set up, the better.